Hello there, duelists. Do you like dragons? Because this deck will be dragging your opponent's life points to 0. We have Dragunities on the playmat. Again, this is the second time I've done an update to a deck on the channel. I don't really see a lot of point in doing a tiny update iteration on a deck, but since my last Dragunity profile there have been a whole host of changes, bans to cards, and new combos. So I felt the time was right to get those winged beasts equipped with those dragons again. Can they soar to new heights? Let's find out. Alright, and it's the dragons and the winged beasts first. So, first up we've got Remus. So Remus came out in Ghost from the Past, which should have been, as everyone sure knows, should have been a structure deck. But Konami in its infinite wisdom decided not to do that. Remus, on its launch was actually quite expensive, but has since dropped quite considerably in price after Dragunities haven't really done anything, which is nice. Anyway, kind of irrelevant. So can't be used for the Synchro sum of anything but a Dragunity Synchro monster. You can discard Remus to add Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand, which is absolutely incredible. So from Ravine being completely banned to now having its own dedicated searcher. And then when it's in the graveyard where I control a Dragunity monster, you can special summon it back, but it gets banished when it leaves the field. So this guy's obviously incredible. Adding Ravine and then an extender from kind of graveyard is really, really solid. Legatus is also from that same set, and I'm running it at 3. A lot of the builds that I've seen run it at 2, but your best opening play really is Legatus and Remus, so why wouldn't you want to try and capitalise on the power of that combo? And I get that sometimes you'll end up with 2 in hand, but you know, I think it's worth that trade. So if you control Dragon Ravine or a Dragunity monster, you can special summon it from your hand, and then if a Dragunity monster is equipped to something else, it can destroy a card on the field. The second effect doesn't come up that often, but it can do. It can also special itself if there's another Legatus on the field, so you can even, Legatus into, I don't know, Romulus or something like that, which isn't great, but it's not prohibitively terrible, which is maybe not a great positive rated card, but I think Legatus is a super solid playstarter and really worth that 3rd slot. I've been running it between 2 and 3 for a while, and I think that I'm kind of settling on the 3. From there, running the old starter of Dragunity Senatus, not the old starter, but so this is, you can discard a Dragunity card, which is great because now we have a lot of options for that, to summon a tuner from the deck. You can only special summon from the extra deck dragons for the rest of the turn after you've used it. In fact, that's the same with Remus as well, so you're almost always locked into dragons from the extra deck. So yeah, Senatus is great. You can also, if a card would be destroyed, you can destroy an equipped monster instead, or something like that. Again, that stuff just never comes up. From there, we're playing, quite a few of the older cards. So we're playing Phalanx, which still has a really solid place in the deck. Special summon from graveyard. It's not once per turn. It's not restricted into any of the Synchro summons or anything like that. It's just a great piece of, support for the deck. It's one of the core pieces. I think I've seen some decks run it at 2. I don't know. I think you could argue either way. I actually just quite like having it around, and I think having 3 just gives you the options and the flexibility. A lot of your cards are discarding, so having this in graveyard is just great. It means you don't need to pull it out of the deck or anything like that. From there, playing 3 Arma Mystletainn. So again, I've seen people cutting this down to 2 or even 1, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. I just think it's a really good extender in the deck. It's not once per turn, and it just special summons out. You can even go Mystletainn over Mystletainn, just to get more cards back from the graveyard. It's just all around a solid extender, and I think that kind of slept on, if I'm being honest. I know that this card at one point got a little bit expensive because it only had the kind of structure deck print, but I think it's not that expensive. From there, we're just going to start clawing our way down through the numbers. So I'm playing 2 Couse. Again, you could argue that if that's too many or too little, depending on your build, but I think that on balance, this one's kind of middly ground. So Mystletainn, just to explain for anyone who's never heard of Dragunity cards before, Mystletainn can special summon itself over the top of from your hand over the top of a Dragunity monster and equip one from the graveyard. Couse, like Phalanx, can special summon itself from being equipped, and it can treat itself for 4 but you can't synchro summon anything apart from Dragunity Synchro monsters with it, and that's basically it, yeah. From there, playing a couple of one-ons, playing Dragunity Dux, one Dragunity Arma Leyvaten, and one Dragunity Arma Gram. So Dux, I had taken out, if I'm being honest, but I was struggling for that kind of like fourth normal summon, should we say. This deck's only got 4 normal summons, which is not bad because it means that you're not kind of reliant on that normal summon, which I think you kind of were. I mean, you still kind of are, but you can definitely make plays without that normal summon now, which I think is definitely a bonus over, you know, previous iterations of the build. So when it's normal summon, you can select a level 3 or lower Dragunity type monster in your graveyard and equip it to Dux. Leyvaten and Arma Gram work in a similar way, but have slightly differing effects. So Leyvaten, you can special summon from your hand or graveyard by removing from play 1 face-up Dragunity monster that's equipped with another card. And then you can equip 1 dragon type monster in your graveyard, except itself, to it. And then Dragunity Gram, you can banish 2 dragon or wing beast monster from your graveyard and special summon it from your hand or graveyard, and then you can target 1 face-up monster, its effects negated, and it loses 1,000 attack for each equip you control. Gram can only be special summoned once per turn. Arma Leyvaten can be summoned multiple, which kind of makes it a bit more flexible, but then the requirements for Leyvaten are a bit higher. Leyvaten's pretty much key to our combos, but Arma Gram you could consider a flex spot. It's I suppose the same with Dux, really. From there, running kind of the non-Dragunity stuff, so we're running 2 Mist Valley Baby Rock. I've seen a couple of builds running this at 3, which you can kind of see because it's an extender with Garuda, but if it's sent directly from the hand to the graveyard, special summon it, so it's just a great way of getting the ball rolling and kind of crucial to that first opening combo. From there, a couple of our big dragons. So 1 Tempest Dragon Ruler of Storms, 1 Relic Metal Dragon. So Relic Metal Dragon, it can special summon itself by banishing a dragon on the field. You don't really want it in hand, if I'm being honest, but it can happen. And then once per turn, you can special summon a dragon type monster from your hand or graveyard. It used to not be once per turn, but now it is. This is the Pre-errata, which obviously was a much better card, but alas, no more. I need to mow it through. I'm taking a long time to explain this. Tempest is your classic dragon ruler, the only unlimited, well, only unbanned dragon ruler, and the main thing we're using it for is to banish it. It can search for a wind dragon type monster. From there, we're playing Zephyros the Elite, which can bounce a card, a face-up card from your field to your hand in order to special summon itself, and you take 400, which is crucial to our main combo. 1 Garuda, the Wind Spirit. I really want to run more of this, but you can banish a wind monster, special summon it from your hand, but I just can't really find the space. And then finally, we're running 1 Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, which at the end of our combo, we equip it. And it prevents your opponent from accessing the extra deck, which is pretty brutal. In my opinion, it shouldn't have been unbanned. Alright, and on to the spells and trap. So I'm going to try and make this quick. So, Dragon Ravine, classic piece of support. So once per turn, discard 1 card, activate an effect, add a level 4 or lower Dragunity monster, or send a dragon type monster from your deck to your graveyard. You rarely use the send, if I'm being honest, but it can come up occasionally. Dragon Ravine is just a really great piece of kind of like support. It's not once per turn, so you know you get that pluses from like Blackwing and stuff like that. Zephyros the Elite. From there, playing one of our newer cards, so 3 Dragunity Glow. You can add a level 5 or higher Dragunity monster from your deck to your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon in defense mode a Dragunity monster that's equipped. It's just a great card. It's where we're going through now in our main combo. Both of those are once per turn, so if you draw multiple, then it can be a bit clangy, but you've got Dragon Ravine and other discard outlets. From there, we've got 1 Dragunity Divine Lance. You could argue, you could run more than this. You can equip to a Dragunity monster. It's unaffected by traps, gains a meteor amount of attack points, and you can equip a dragon type monster from your deck to that monster. So super solid piece of support, but it kind of rarely comes up now, if I'm being honest. From there, we're kind of running our kind of staple spells and traps. So we're running 1 Called by the Grave, to disrupt hand traps. 1 Monster Reborn is kind of a generic extender. This could easily be another Garuda or something like that, but I kind of figured Monster Reborn's a bit more generic. And then some consistency improvers. So 1 Terraformer to search out that Dragon Ravine, 1 Gold Sarcophagus to kind of banish that Tempest to search, our wind dragons, and then 1 Upstart Goblin, which again, I suppose you could consider a flex spot and you could remove or change to something else. So then we've finally got our kind of last main deck piece of new supports, and that's Dragunity Oblite, which I'm probably butchering the name of that. So when your opponent activates a spell or trap and you control a Dragunity Synchro monster, you can negate the activation, and if you do, banish the card. It's obviously super solid because it protects you against spell and traps, you know, and you get, you know, kind of an attack reduction or attack gaining if you've got a level 10 or higher Dragunity monster on the field, which yeah, I mean, it can come up, but it's kind of irrelevant. The main thing is you're negating that spell and trap. All right, and on to the big dragons. So we're playing one Dragunity Vajrayana, one Dragunity Garuda. So these are kind of like our, I suppose, stepping stones. So Vajrayana, I suppose, is probably a flex spot. You know, it's kind of the original Dragunity Knight, and it's probably got weaker with age, unlike Garuda, who's got stronger with age. So Vajrayana, if it's Synchro summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower Dragunity monster and equip to it. And this was the kind of classic stepping stone. I quite like it for, you know, kind of that third turn. You know, if you want to, you know, make that push for kind of game, then I think this is a clean and easy way into, you know, it's kind of high damage and victory. Garuda is far better and much more flexible. We're going to Garuda almost immediately in our combos. So once per turn during your main phase, you can add a level 4 or lower dragon or wing beast, and then you have to pitch a card after that. So you can dump cards, or you can add cards and get rid of the ones that you don't need. He's just super flexible, and that's, although it's once per turn, it's once per turn while he's on the field, so you can use it over and over and over again. From there, we're playing 2 Barsha, which desperately needs a reprint. But when he's Synchro summoned, you can target any number of Dragunity monsters in your graveyard and attach them to him. So he's kind of like a soul charge. He's absolutely busted, and he's not once per turn. So he's just great, and a real way of, you know, putting a huge amount of resources on the field. And mostly, you know, that's what we're using to set up our combos. And then a couple of our really big Dragunity monsters, one Ascalon and one Reed Bear. So Ascalon was kind of in the last wave of support. Not the latest one, but you can banish a Dragunity monster from graveyard and then banish a monster on the field, should I say, and then if he's destroyed, you get to special summon a Dragunity monster from your extra deck that's level 8 or lower, I believe, and it gets treated as a Synchro summon. It's a 3/3, so it's pretty huge. A Reed Bear is also 3/3 and has got a banish from graveyard kind of effect, but instead of being kind of like, I suppose, offensive, it's kind of defensive, so you can negate a monster effect. It's just an effect negator. If anything battles a Reed Bear, it gets and it's destroyed, it gets banished instead. And if a Reed Bear is destroyed, you get to destroy all spell and trap cards on the field, which is not. It doesn't come up that often, but I suppose you might be able to utilize it in some scenarios. So now we've got a couple of kind of generic Synchro monsters. So one Crystalline Synchro Dragon. We're trying to go to this kind of before doing anything else to kind of stop that Nibiru, because you can summon it before that 5 limit, that 5 golden limit. And then one Borrowless Savage Dragon to kind of complete our board at the end. And from there, we're running a couple of, you know, I suppose, these are cards where you need them for the combos, basically. So there's Trishula, the Dragon of Icy Imprisonment, which, if you use 3 dragons, which we're using, you can banish a card from your deck, a card from the top of your opponent's deck, and a card from their extra deck. So that's getting you out the Tempest, which allows you to get a search, which is obviously really good. And then one Heretic Dragon King of the Tum. He's just crucial to a combo, so detached to summon a dragon from the deck, and it becomes 0 attack, but its effects aren't negated, so you get that Red Eyes Darkness. And then the final 5 slots are for links. So we've got one Striker Dragon, which now limited. We don't really use its effect. The reason we're using it is it points in the opposite direction of the Guard Dragon Pisty, which comes up quite useful. So Pisty is obviously, you know, summon a dragon from the banished or from the graveyard to a zone that 2 link monsters point to. And then we've got 3 link 2 monsters. So we've got one Romulus, one Protection Whelp, and one Heretic Seal. So Romulus adds a Dragunity spell or trap, which can get you a few different things, but mostly it's getting you Glow. And then you can special summon a Wing Beast monster or from your hand. It's got another effect, but it basically is not used. Protection Whelp is basically used for the dump, so the Foolish Burial effect to get busted Dragon Destruction Sword from your deck to your graveyard in order to kind of facilitate using Arma Leyvaten with it. It's got another effect that doesn't come up in this deck. And then finally, Hieratic Seal has got that kind of bounce disruption effect and then special summon from your deck. Yeah, so that's all the big dragons. So let's wrap things up, hopefully in not too long. Dragunities are still a powerful combo deck, and with the most recent support, the deck has even more consistent access to those plays. The deck can still be quite fragile in parts, and a wise opponent will definitely take advantage of that, but the end boards are brutal. You just got to win that die roll and avoid a full fist to the small dragons. So, with that said, it's a 4 for the relevance. It's strange how consistency will kind of make a deck stronger, but too much of it can kind of make it boring. The pre-prescribed lines, in my opinion, do detract from the kind of piece it all together combo aspect that Dragunity had going for it. And the deck actually becomes more interesting when your standard plays kind of get disrupted, and you've got to figure out kind of routes, around that to get to kind of your end boards still. I think the combo, is fun and versatile and, interesting, I think is what I'd say. So it's a 4 for the fun factor. The deck core is actually incredibly cheap. Barsha and Borrowload and a few of the other kind of extra deck slots make up almost half of the cost. So if you can find alternatives to those, then you could almost go sub 100, I would say. As it is though, my estimated cost is $225, which is still very budget for the power level. So are Dragunities equipped with the power to win, or is the new support just some blunt tools? Thanks for watching.